Okay, it's recording. So you want to get started? We'll just,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Okay. So we are so blessed to have a special guest today in Revolutionize Your Life. And may I introduce Argentina Leva Salazar?
Yeah.
She is a body image coach that uses photography to help women elevate their confidence and self-esteem. She runs body love retreats around the world. Some of the places that she has featured her special brand of coaching are Bali, Fiji, Mexican Riviera, and Paris. And she's also the author of I'm Not Fat, I'm Delicious. So I wanted to say, Argentina, thank you so much for being here today. I know our ladies are in for a big treat with what you have for us today. So please, first I want to say welcome, and second I want to say, please tell us a little bit about you.
Well, thank you for having me, Amy. I was just so delighted to meet you, a couple of weeks ago and coming up with this idea of coming live in Facebook, because I'm all about empowering women. And the whole story, started about 13 years ago. When I was around 38 years old, and I was in a place in my life when I woke up and I look at my life and I was like, how the hell did I get myself here? I was divorced twice, no children, still struggling with my body weight. So my life was not what I thought it would be by the time I was 40, and I was approaching 40 very quickly. And in my head, I really thought, when I turn 40, I'm just going to be old. Who's going to want me? Life's over. It's time. Everything is the downhill road now. Let's just go, on that. My time's up, basically.
I know that feeling well.
Yeah. So I wasn't, it was a crisis, emotional crisis. So at that time, I was working full-time as an engineer, and on the side, I had a photography business doing weddings. And very unexpectedly, my brides just started to ask me if I could do their boudoir photos for them. I had no idea, never heard of boudoir photography before. I actually had to Google it. And I realized, okay, sexy pictures like Victoria's Secret. You're like, cool. Yeah, absolutely. I can do that. And I fell in love with that. I really fell in love because these girls were just so beautiful. Everything I never was. And I got to photograph them, and they look so beautiful. It never occurred to me that I could do something like that because I didn't look like them. So months passed. I started to advertise boudoir photography because turns out that I was very talented and a natural. And when I started to advertise, I started to get other type of women in the studio. I started to get women in their, 40s, 50s, even 60s coming to me, and I was shocked. It's like, really? I thought this was for young girls. So I would photograph them. First, we will get them beautiful with hair and makeup and the lingerie. And I thought like, wow, I can see why men like all sorts of women. I mean, she's not a skinny 20-year-old bride. She is, a 42-year-old woman. She had kids, but she's just beautiful. I can now see what men see. How is it possible that she doesn't feel beautiful? And that got me to think in my own situation, wait a minute, I don't feel beautiful. So these women are the ones that inspire me to actually take the leap and do my first boudoir session. More out of pressure that I had to set the example if I was going to continue doing this. But I had the same fear than everybody. I was afraid I was not going to like what I saw. And my worst nightmares would be now recorded on paper, evidence of my inadequacy and my ugliness. And when I saw those pictures, well, none of that happened. I was actually looking at those pictures, and I thought I was looking at a client because I couldn't recognize myself.
Wow.
When it finally dawned on me that that was me, I was like, wow, that's me? I'm so skinny. And I was a size 14. But I thought I was so skinny because I was so disconnected from myself, and I had distorted my perception, my body image so much. I really thought I was this huge woman. And part of that had that at one point I was 250 pounds, and I stayed there mentally. And when I, lost weight, after the stress of school finished, I lost a lot of weight, but in my head, I stayed big. So when I saw those pictures, I thought I was skinny. And those images really changed my perception of myself. And I fell in love with what I saw. And it was my choice. Nobody was telling me you're beautiful. It's like, oh my God, I love what I see. I am beautiful. So I started to feel great. And I really had no idea of what this event was going to set in motion in my life until about 8 months later, when there was this troll in social media who completely, unknown person to me, a stranger who started body shaming me publicly in social media, calling me fat and telling me I needed to lose weight. And instead of telling him, how dare you, or feeling angry or hurt or, wanting to go and hide and cry, I just replied to him, what do you mean I'm fat? I'm not fat. I'm delicious.
Good.
That's the one. That's why my book is called like
That's
that.
your book, yeah.
That was the moment, Amy, that I realized my life was completely transformed.
Oh my God, that's beautiful.
Because of those pictures. And I made a decision. Women need to know this. Every woman needs to feel beautiful on her own skin, because when you feel beautiful, everything changes. Everything. So, and everything changed. I quit my job. I started to date better. I found my third husband, which I got divorced again. However, since we're talking about dating, I started to date so much better. I became a man magnet. I would get approached in the coffee shops, and I wasn't dressed like this. I was in yoga pants. I was coming from riding my horse or from the gym. But it's the energy, the aura. Yeah. And I became more open about talking to men, flirting, taking compliments, doing eye contact, talking to men, just, not to flirt, but they could be married, but they're next to me, and I wasn't shy. I wasn't thinking like, oh, what he's going to think if I speak to him, And
not really with any intention. You were just having fun and having that interplay, just not about it going anywhere, just having fun in the moment, right?
Absolutely.
Really
and so after my divorce at age 43, now I'm 50, I just turned 50. So in the last 7 years, I had a couple of relationships. I dated online. I met people, through other means, and, I remain single by choice. But I have to tell you, I have never had a bad date in my life.
Fantastic.
They're just not the men for me, but it just became so much easier, and that changed everything. And this is what I want to talk about, to the ladies, about becoming a men magnet, because there are many elements. We think is to be skinny, to be young, to have this great personality,
to look like a supermodel,
look
right?
as a supermodel, have this, just look absolutely flawless. I'm not going to deny that, yes, to put yourself out there, if you are in a place of a lot of single people and everybody's wearing black and you're wearing red, well, guess who's going to get noticed?
Exactly.
If you have an amazing haircut and good makeup and high heels and know how to stand and know how to do eye contact and do, you see a guy and just do something like that and not feel like you're a slut, that you actually like, I don't care what, because this is what happens. We worry what women think, how other women are judging us when we show up with a miniskirt dress showing a little bit of cleavage, nice makeup, long nails, high heels, walking around doing eye contact and doing this to men, we worry about what other women think, how they're judging us, because obviously it's competition. Yeah. And so it's about getting over that, and how you get over that is through confidence. Your confidence, your self-esteem, and knowing who you are. And that's where I focus on in my work with boudoir photography. For years, I would call myself a photographer, and I have been transitioning in realizing it's like, I am not a photographer. I am a body image coach that happens to use photography to help women change the perception of their bodies and fall in love with themselves. I love the reframe.
That's fantastic.
Isn't it that tells you a lot, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So, the origins of our pain, because it's pain what we feel, you really can go back all the way to the times of the cavemen and cavewomen. It was a survival thing for a woman to had this. They hadn't probably invented that the word beautiful is an instinctive thing, reaction to try to attract a male, because her life depended on it. If she did not have a male to protect her, she could die. Her offspring could die, or she wouldn't be able to mate and have children. Right. She would be in danger. So in order to attract men, obviously she needed to be found enticing by males. So, our brain didn't get the memo that we're not in danger of being eaten by a saber-toothed tiger anymore.
Yeah.
So the brain didn't get that memo, so the brain continues reacting the same way. Because our brain is designed to keep us alive. So when the brain perceives anything around us as dangerous, as unknown, uncertainty, we don't know what's on the other side, the brain says, oh, I don't know what that is, or I don't like that, or that feels weird. You could die, so I'm going to protect you. And that's when we act the way we act. That's why we do the things that we do, like being needy, clinging to the wrong man, keep calling him or texting him, dating the wrong guy, not living a bad relationship. Because what is the opposite? The opposite is completely unknown. In this moment, wherever we are, we're familiar with our environment. We're familiar with those feelings, even if they suck. The other option, we don't know, and our brain is like, don't do that. Don't leave. Don't call him. Don't let him go. Check his phone. Don't let another woman steal him from you. Why?
That scarcity mindset. Yeah.
Yeah, because the brain is trying to prevent us from being alone. Because if we're alone, the brain thinks that we're gonna die. Right. And so when we understand that, as intelligent women, now we can actually start. We have the tools and the reasoning to make different decisions. So this is why we need to feel beautiful. We have genetic need, really, to feel beautiful, because it comes from a very, very, centuries, ages ago. It's in our nature, because we are wired for connection. We have an intrinsic need to belong, to be loved, to be needed, to be part of something. In that time, it was, part of a tribe. Now it's part of our family, a marriage, a relationship, because we're wired for it. And that's why we're always trying to find that soulmate. Because we're always thinking that if we don't have that, our brain is telling us you're gonna die.
You're gonna die, right?
Yeah,
Danger, danger, danger.
danger, exactly. So when we understand, those are the basis of why we need to feel beautiful. It's not a thing about being egocentric or selfish or self-centered. It's because we really want to belong, and we live in a society in which, unfortunately, acceptance in a lot of times has been conditioned on circumstances, physical or emotional or financial, or are you from some sort of family or race or age or skinny or blonde, all that. So those ideas, they are planted in our head since we're little kids. We are not born when we're babies looking at our fat rolls. We're actually very curious about our bodies. They're like, oh my God, I have feet, I have fingers. But there's a point in which we start to reason, and the adults in our lives and everything, especially now with social media, poor kids, they're invaded with all these messages, and kids are like sponges. Yeah. And first it starts with, Disney princesses and Barbies, and then teenage celebrities and all those movies. And as little girls, I remember when I was a little girl, I would look myself in the mirror and I look nothing like Barbie. Yeah. And so that's when we start questioning our worthiness based on our looks, because the message that is out there is that you need to look like this in order to be loved and accepted. So we spend our lives chasing worthiness, and that gets translated to our adult life. We start dating and we're looking for that love and acceptance, worthiness. And unless you have like a super mom and super parents that help you create a good body image and sense of worthiness, which in my case I didn't, then we become people pleasers. We stop being who we truly are and mold ourselves to what that person that we want to be with wants us to be, or what we think he wants us to be.
It's so easy to take in the judgment of other people, right?
Oh, absolutely.
And I would even say that, I would even think there are lots of women who grew up with the parents where they were very nurturing and kind, but even, a few negative remarks or even something that was just said, like, oh, something that was offhand said by somebody, that you have such a pretty face, if you were to lose a little bit of weight, something that is made like that, that can be very damaging. Absolutely. And it stays with you.
Completely. The damage, it's a belief system that we create about our value as an individual. Yeah. And it is created between the ages of 8 and 13. Those are the crucial years. Mm-hmm. After that, it still happens, but it just, that's really when something might happen that really creates a perception as a kid of, I'm only good enough if when I grow up, I do what my parents want me to do, or I marry this type of man, or I'm skinny, or, all that. So the decisions that we start making growing up are a lot based on what we think we have to become, or what we have to look like, or where we have to be in life in order to be loved and accepted and belong. So that's how we end up where we end up. In my case, I got married 3 times, almost 4. For this reason, I had this belief in my head that from my culture, we're Mexican, that I am not complete as a woman unless I have a husband, I had children, and I'm skinny. Those were the 3 things that defines any woman in Mexico. You're married, you have kids, and you're skinny. And once you have those things, Then they start judging what kind of husband, what kind of kids,
Yep.
you know,
Yep.
and so it's never enough. It's
Yeah,
never
I come
enough.
from the Indian culture, and it's very similar.
Yeah, it's never enough.
And my husband and I, we got married. We were both in our 40s, so, later in life. And so we both decided when we were dating that we wouldn't have kids. And there's been a lot of shock. We've actually had people ask us, when are you planning on having kids? And we've told them, no, and they're shocked that that somebody would get married and not have kids if you could. And it's the understanding, it's the expectation. I'm sorry to interrupt you really quick, but I wanted to ask, so I see we've got some people that are watching. So I want to let the people that are watching know, you'll see a note at the top that you need to log into StreamYard in order for your comments to show up. So if anybody has any comments, please go ahead and put that in there. And then once you do, you can put your question in the comments. And then Argentina, maybe at the end, if there are any questions, you can take them at that time. Does that sound good? Okay, perfect. Sorry to interrupt.
Cool.
Please.
No, that's
continue.
great. Yeah.
I noticed that we had some people in, so I wanted to just make that clear to them.
Perfect.
In case they had any questions. Okay, sorry.
So so that's how we end up where we are.
Right.
And in my case, when I decided to get divorced the third time, I just had this breakthrough split second in my life that I realized, it basically he did strike three, and I decided after strike three, I'm divorcing him. And so it took him a while, but eventually strike three came. And believe me, some of those were really the next strike, but I said like, okay, I'll make that like half. So I wouldn't count them. So there was more like 6 or 7, but it got to the point, okay, that's a strike three. But when it was one of the toughest decisions that I had to make in my life, because when I married him, I was already 40. And I thought like, okay, we're both in our 40s, we're not teenagers, we're not in our 20s, we're not young, and we don't want kids either, So it was a tough decision to make because he wasn't a bad man. But I decided, he is really like a 3-legged horse. Doesn't matter how much I train him, he's never going to win the race because he only has 3 legs.
Yeah.
So I'm just wasting my time, my time, which is my most valuable asset.
Right.
So I had this realization that being married and having children doesn't define my worthiness, that I am worth of love, acceptance, and belonging as I am, single, married, divorced, widow, gay, lesbian, whatever, but I needed to accept it first in order for my family to accept it and shut up once and for all. They give me crap, but it's different. Now it's under my own rules.
But you can deal with it.
Completely. So wanted to give you this background to now talk more about what any woman can do in order to become a man magnet. And
good, the juicy stuff. I can't wait.
Yay. So I talked to a lot of my clients about this because there's a lot of single women in their 40s and 50s dating. And after we do a session, we open a bottle of wine and I give them like a free coaching session right there. So I specialize in one, but really I have identified 5 things that any woman that I've done myself, to become a man magnet. Now, anyone with a miniskirt, makeup, and some cleavage can attract a man. Anyone. Doesn't matter what you look like. It's the quality that we also, that's the last thing we forget to tell the universe. I want men to come to me, but it's like, what kind of man? Okay.
Exactly. Be specific.
So I mentioned it before, we start to act desperate in relationships because it's just a signal that the brain sends us. It's a survival thing. And I was no different. I was acting desperate. I stopped being myself in order to really mold myself into the other person's life. So that's where my number one, the 5 things to become a man magnet. The first one, that's where it comes. which is we have to stop searching for men. And we need to first focus on us and designing our life and what we want our life to look like. Because if we don't design our life, well, guess what? We are going to become a part of somebody else's life design, a man. And it's his plan for him, not for us. Mm-hmm. Nobody wakes up to design a plan for you.
Yeah.
We all have our own plans. So that is going to screen most men out. And that's what we feel frustrated because there's no good men out there, or I can find anybody, because the pool gets smaller. That's true. That's why we have to go into the second part, which is, and this about designing your life is basically, the way I design my life is I just created a vision board on my own, that if I never find a man ever in my life until the day I die, I need to figure out a way that I'm going to be fulfilled and thrilled about my life. Mm-hmm. What would it look like? Because I am not going to spend all my life searching for a man and missed being me.
Right.
So we have to design our life, focus on ourselves, have this amazing life, and not wait until we have a partner to actually have this amazing life. We need to create this amazing life.
Right.
Then the second one, because I told you, when you start doing that, suddenly the pool gets very small, especially the older that we get. So the next one is about making an account of your core values and set the standards. So design your perfect partner. There's millions of humans in this earth. There's gotta be more than one, that fits, I'm not gonna say perfectly, but matches a lot of your core values, your standards. Because you want to ask yourself this question when you are or find a man. And of course, after the honeymoon is over, is when we actually things start to bother us, right? Mm-hmm. You have to ask this question: if nothing changes about him ever, can I deal with this the rest of my life?
Right.
If the answer is like, oh hell no, it's not for you. Stop sugarcoating it and letting him slide and really creep into your life, and because it's not part of your core value. And my last relationship, for me it was very, very important that he learn somehow handle the language of my country. It was a must. So obviously we met and he said, yes, I'm going to learn Spanish.
Of course.
3 years later, and he cannot say pollito chicken, So I let him slide and slide and slide and slide. Other things came up, but that is just an example. Right. So, and he had a lot of good qualities. But that, for me, that was one of my core values. And I decided I was never going to settle anymore. So don't settle. Start with designing your life the way you want it to be, so that if you never meet a man, you're still happy and fulfilled. Number 2, make a list of your core values and set your standards. Design the type of man. Know what are the qualities, beliefs, and values that man needs to have. Number 3, this is the one where I specialize, which is stop comparing yourself to other women.
Yes.
You need to fall in love completely with yourself. And I know this is the hardest part, because we can easily fall in love with somebody else, with your children, with your friends, with another man. But we look in the mirror and we go like, ugh, I feel fat. I feel old.
That is
Look
so
at my
true.
stomach.
Yeah.
So here is the problem. Why we struggle falling in love with ourselves. It is because we have this belief since infancy that what defines our worthiness and being good enough is based on the exterior, on this shell that we call human body. You are not your body. You are a spirit or an entity inhabiting a human body to have a human experience.
Mm-hmm.
And this is like your car. Imagine that when you're born, they give you this car and they tell you, you're only going to have one car your entire life. So it's going to last you for as long as you take care of that car and are kind to that car and change the oil and the maintenance and clean it up and all that. Well, guess what? If you don't, change the oil and you're just like, stupid car, I hate it. Well, you're not going to have fun driving that car. But the moment that you understand, like, oh my God, this is the only car I have to go around and, it's Philadelphia and it's snowing, blizzard temperatures. I really don't care what my car looks like. I just need a car.
Right.
So that's what our body is. Does it really matter what your body looks like as long as you want to have a human experience under your own terms, not what society, media, fantasies, and dreams and people portray that the perfect life should look like. And for that, you need to have this super body.
Mm-hmm.
That is just fantasies. It's just like Prince Charming. It's great to fantasize and check out, and I still love Cinderella stories. But in reality, come on, reality is very different.
Right.
And I prefer to be in charge of my own reality than living in a dream. So, how to stop comparing yourself to others, how to fall in love with your body. Well, by changing the perception of what having a human body really means. As I said, you're not your body. The way I discover my own beauty, and my glasses are driving me crazy, I can see the reflection. So the way that you fall in love with your body is by changing your perception of your body.
Yeah.
We believe that in order to be beautiful, well, first of all, we think or we want to be beautiful in order to be loved and accepted. I believe that I couldn't get a good husband because I wasn't pretty enough and skinny enough. That was my belief. And then I saw those pictures and I was like, wait a minute, who the hell is not going to want me? Look at me, I'm delicious. So it's a change of perception.
Right.
It's like a light switch. It's just a light switch. Have you ever listened to a song that just comes out in the radio and then they start playing it? Like I remember Taylor Swift came out with a new song and the new hit, and I listened to the song and I thought like, that's a stupid song. But they kept playing it over and over and over and over.
Was it Take It Off?
I can't remember honestly, but I remember if I listen to it, it's like, oh yeah, that's the song, and now I actually stand up and dance. So totally different story. That's how you change your perception. So when you make a conscious decision to say, I am going to love my body, and then you step in front of the mirror, you do things that are actions of love towards your body. The more you do them, the more you recondition your brain. You're rewiring your brain. Because our thoughts, every single thought that we have releases chemicals into our brain.
Right.
Endorphins, serotonin, oxytocin, endorphins. Even bad thoughts, hatred, suffering, it's just a cocktail of chemicals in our brain.
Yeah.
That's why when we feel depressed, what is the easiest thing to make us feel good? Food. Again, the brain is in action. If we're depressed, if we're sad, if we're crying because the man left us or cheated on us and feel like crap, the brain is like, that's dangerous. She's going to die. She needs to feel better. She needs oxytocin. And the best way to release oxytocin to your brain is by doing something that triggers that release. And food does the best job about that. Drugs, alcohol, smoking, gambling, compulsive shopping. Facebooking,
Yes,
checking your
yes,
phone, your social media. All that releases oxytocin, serotonin, the feel-good hormone. Okay,
yes, exactly.
that's what we do it. So if you're beating yourself up that you have, extra pounds or you're obese or whatever that is, and it's like, oh, who's gonna want this body? I'm not gonna deny that. Obviously, first of all, it's amazing what men like. I've had these husbands come into the studio to bring me his wife for pictures, and he is just naturally skinny. Doesn't matter what he is super skinny. And the wife, is a plus size woman. And he thinks is the most beautiful woman on earth.
Right.
And obviously she struggles and she wants to see what he sees. Okay. So love is really in the eye of the beholder. But if you're beating yourself up to say like, I can't lose weight or I have carb addiction, it's just a chemistry in your brain. If you, instead of going on a diet, you actually start going for things that make you feel good instead of the food, like dancing. Right. Or getting busy, getting a project and getting busy in your project, they release the oxytocin. So when you take beautiful photos of yourself and you look absolutely beautiful in these pictures, guess what? You're like, oh my God, that's me. All this oxytocin goes into your brain. And then you go home and then probably, you have your period the next day and you're feeling fat. And you go and look at your pictures. Oh, that's me. And that was just a week ago. So how much can I have changed? And now and then you show your pictures to your friends and they say like, oh my God, Amy, you're like gorgeous. Who took your pictures? Yeah. And you're like, really? You think so? Like, yeah, like I've been telling you all these years. I know, this chick Argentina took my pictures. It was the most amazing experience. And my husband loves these pictures. So you're releasing oxytocin. And when you look at yourself like that every single day in those pictures, you're triggering the oxytocin, triggering. I actually lost about 10 pounds naturally without doing anything because I wasn't craving food after my session. I don't know, I'm pretty sure it has happened to a lot of you girls that you fall in love, you meet a new guy, and your appetite goes away. Yeah. That's why. Because you don't need the food to feel good anymore. You have the relationship that is making you feel good. When I went up all the way to 250 pounds. That was in grad school because of the stress of the school. Right. To release stress, food is your best friend, food and alcohol. So I ballooned in a matter of 6 months. I gained 80 pounds. Finished school. I know that I'm going to graduate. And then I met my husband and I was in love and excited that I'm done with school. And I'm going to start my life finally and get a job. I wasn't hungry. And in a matter of 2-3 weeks, boom, I lost like 20 pounds. So it's chemistry. It's just chemistry. So find a thing, and I'm not going to make it less. There is clinical depression, and I'm not going to pretend that I understand it because I don't. This is just for the natural feeling the blues, feeling a little bit depressed or sad, not good enough, something that we can control. I'm not even going to go and pretend that, I have clinical depression. That's a totally different story. I don't go there because I don't understand it. And I have no expertise in that, no experience whatsoever. But anything else, most of us, we can do things like dancing, exercise is just great to release the serotonin. And obviously, when you replace that need to feel good about yourself with things like dancing, exercising, a project, gardening, falling in love, you are going to feel better about yourself. You're probably going to be losing weight. Just in general, when you go into a diet and an exercise program and you lose the weight, you feel better about yourself. And I have a lot of women that I just lost 50 pounds and I'm feeling great about myself. I want to take pictures. That's great. But that's the easy part, to lose the weight. The hard part is to maintain it, because what's going to happen if you gain the weight again, gain the weight again, which it happens to a lot of us. It happened to me so many times. I battled my weight since I was 17, when my mother told me I was fat, and the whole thing just started. And I would go into a crash diet, lose the weight, get all the compliments from the family, and then something happened, like stress from school, or my mother would tell me I still need to lose more weight, so what's the point? It's never good enough. And I would eat again, and I gain it. So those yo-yo diets is I just kept sabotaging myself, because it didn't matter what I did, it was never good enough. Okay, so it's all about recognizing all these things. But here's the thing: we want to be loved and be seen by a great partner. Love unconditionally, a man to give everything for us, respect us, admire us. How can we expect somebody to see that about us when we cannot see it ourselves? When
That's
we
very,
don't
very
love
true.
ourselves. So it really starts, you could be the most beautiful, gorgeous woman, and believe me, I have photographed some beautiful women, but they don't feel beautiful.
Right.
And then I have photographed other women who are plus size, in the 40s, 50s, that, how the hell do you do it? Because you're just rocking it. And they have like 3 boyfriends. I met a woman, very heavy set, 3 boyfriends.
Wow.
She just, I just had different boyfriends. It's like, wow.
And it's the state of mind, right?
It is the state of mind.
She's so much fun, and she's lively, and she's wonderful to be around, I'm sure.
And here's the secret. What makes a woman truly attractive in the eyes of a man, the modern man, is confidence. Here's why. Men do not want to carry us emotionally. They don't want to carry us either, they want us to feel complete, completely in love with us. When women say like I have, again, I photographed over 3,000 women, and gorgeous women, their husbands go and cheat on them. So they end up feeling devastated, because how is that possible? I've taken care of my body. After I gave birth to his 3 kids, I gave up my career to support his business, raise his children, took care of my body. I even put it back together, and he still cheats on me. Well, men cheat for 2 reasons only, in my view. Because they don't want to carry us emotionally, or because they're assholes. Simple as that. So either he's an asshole, or basically there is something emotional that he's not willing to carry.
Right.
Simple as that. Or baggage, or they don't want to hear our complaints about our skin folds, about our cellulite, about how fat we are. What men really want is to know that we want them. And that this body right here, which doesn't define who we are, it's a spirit that is inside of us, is going to bring this body towards him to give him pleasure and make him feel wanted and accepted.
Yeah, that was actually the third quality I was gonna say. Not feeling like you were wanted or appreciated. That can also contribute to cheating. It's not an excuse, but sometimes it can. Right?
Completely. And I talk to men, and
they don't feel wanted.
Yeah, and men, they want us to see what they see. And as a photographer, that gave me the opportunity to see what men see. I've seen these women that, beautiful. I'm not going to deny that I've seen bodies that have gone through birth and aging, and it's a working body. It's not a body that has been in the garage, it's been a working body. So the signs are there. When you put it all together with beautiful lingerie and beautiful makeup, and then the posing and the expressions that everybody tells me the women in your website look so confident. I'll come and take pictures when I feel confident. It's like, no, nobody comes to me because they feel confident. Everybody comes to me because they don't feel confident. They want to.
Right.
And I make them look confident in those pictures, so that I call it that the alter ego effect. I photograph I want to feel confident. I'm going to photograph you looking like a confident woman or a sensual woman, a sexy woman, beautiful as you are, owning it. And when they see these pictures, they, totally, I can't believe that's me. I look like a totally different woman. That's the woman. It's inside of you already. I just brought her out in this photo shoot. And every time you're looking at these pictures, remember that that's the real you. So that you give her permission to show up in life, not just stay inside of you. We all have alter egos inside of us. I have a very sexy prostitute inside of me. I really do. She loves tango. But we keep all those things, inside. When I was working in the industry, I work in a male environment. So I brought my masculine version outside. No hair, no makeup, very straight. I had to be that kind of gal. With my clients, I'm more like the female version of Dr. Phil. Empathetic, but still tough. So I'm very empathetic because I know what you went through. I went through the same stuff, but I'm not here to agree with you about your own inadequacy. I'm here to help you see that you are good enough just as you are. So I give my clients, tough love. That's why I became more of a coach than that just happens to use, photography. It's just the power of photography, Amy. I'm pretty sure you experience it yourself. When you have a great picture of you, it's like you just put it in Facebook, right?
Yeah, no, you were mentioning about photography, and I had an experience like that. We got married 3 years ago and got a photographer in Houston, and the images, we were lucky enough to have an engagement package with the wedding package. And so we had 2 sets of photos and I think 3 or 4 different outfits. And they are the most beautiful photos, honestly, I've ever seen. And sometimes I look at them and it's like you said, you just feel so good about yourself. Mm-hmm. And so that actually brings to mind, is that something that you recommend to women that, say they don't have boudoir photos? Your first recommendation, I take it, would be go get some, right?
Mm-hmm. And they don't have to be boudoir pictures. I know boudoir photography is out of every woman's comfort zone. Right. Nobody comes into my studio strutting around telling me, Argentina, I'm ready to take my clothes off.
I'm ready.
Nobody. Yeah. Everybody is scared to death. And the only reason why they show up is because I charge them a deposit that is not refundable.
So they can't back out without...
They can't back out. A lot of people, I show up because I knew it was not refundable. Yeah. So I do it as a service. As a service, because so many women have second thoughts. And when I was charging $100 deposit, guess what? Half the people chicken out.
Right.
Right. So now it's something that is not too high, but it hurts. Right. And I love boudoir photography because this is about your entire body, not just your face. And we're here to fall in love with our cellulite. I'm not saying that I'm going to have you standing up and let me show me your stretch marks. Absolutely not. This is about, actually, let me pull a very quick picture here while we're talking. This is about, imagine that you have a Jaguar. This is a Jaguar that you bought 50 years ago. And you've been driving around this car for 50 years. You took it to college, through snowstorms, potholes, bad roads, hailstorms, children got in your car, they spill, lots of sun exposure, so the paint is dull. You probably got into a fender bender at one point, so it has some, crooked parts and rattling because of all those. It's been driving through potholes for 50 years. Right. So it doesn't look new. However, just because it doesn't look new, it doesn't stop being a Jaguar. And that's who we are.
That's
Doesn't
very,
matter
yeah.
what this body looks like, we're still a freaking jaguar. Remember that. So how to fall in love with this? Of course there's ways, and you know, whenever I find a woman that tells me, oh, I don't give a shit what I look like. If somebody wants me, they should love me just the way I do the makeup, I do hair, I look, you know, my gray hair and whatever it is. Look, this is like driving your car. Would you take a car into, if you're going to have a very luxurious dinner at the Ritz-Carlton, and you're going to valet park your car, wouldn't you give it a wash?
Yeah.
Right? Why?
Yeah.
Because that speaks a lot about who you are and how much you care for your property, in, you know, your car,
Right.
in this case, your body. So whoever
Right.
tells me I don't give a shit what I look like, she's lying. I truly do. Because nobody is happy not feeling good about herself. We are really good about masking it under a false facade of confidence. I'm an expert on that. For 20 years, I hid behind my engineering degree and working in a male environment to hide away my feminine side and justify that I was fat. Like, who cares? I just work with men and I need to look more manly. I cannot be all skinny. So I justified the fact, you know, to not feel so bad about myself, the fact that I was fat, you know. So, but it's not true. It is in our DNA. We need to feel good about ourselves. What is the, I mean, there's circumstances in which there is this amazing girl that I just bought one of her books. Her name is Turia Pitt. She's from Australia. She is an engineer, and she was running a marathon through the outback in Australia, and she got caught in a wildfire. She was burnt her entire body, and she had a boyfriend, fiance. So she survived, and well, her skin is burned, you know, and now she's a mom. She has 2 kids. Her fiance didn't leave her. That was true love. He stuck by her, and they're happily married. So I love her because sometimes I ask myself, when I was going through my own journey, I asked myself the same question. Argentina, you were going to be burned tomorrow and completely change, or lose an arm, or lose a leg, or end up paraplegic, or doesn't matter what you do, you're never going to lose the weight. You only have 2 choices in this life. You can be miserable the rest of your life hoping for an alternate reality, or you can learn to love unconditionally the body that you love, that you have, by personal choice. When you love yourself unconditionally by choice, you become a man magnet. Because a man wants to be with a woman that is completely happy with herself, because he's not willing to carry us emotionally. A man hates to be telling us, Argentina, I told you you're fine. Doesn't bother me that you have a big stomach. That's okay that you're a little bit overweight. You're still beautiful. Stop eating yourself up. You know, I don't even look at your cellulite or your stretch marks. They hate that. That is the biggest turn off for a man. The biggest turn on is for a woman that, as she is, she does a striptease, grabs her body, gives him a lap dance, puts some lingerie, and just comes after him as she is. That is what men want. It's a very simple brain.
That's wonderful. Yeah. Yeah. Very true.
When you understand that, you know, just do. Again, here comes your alter ego. You know, find that personality, that let's say a burlesque dancer, and get into that role. Play some loud music, have some alcohol. I did that with my last husband. I was going through finishing my transformation, and I'm at my biggest social project, and I wanted to really see, if I could do that. So I turned on some music. I told him, just sit right there. Here's a beer. I had a glass of wine. I had taken some pole dance lessons, got some lingerie, did some dancing in high heels. And of course, a couple of times I almost fell. But it was so liberating. And seeing his face. This is the reason why men go and watch porn and go to nightclubs, like strip clubs.
Yeah.
Because we won't do it for them. Because we're too embarrassed, too ashamed of our bodies, too scared. What's he's going to think of me? He thinks I'm a whore, or I'm an easy, or a vulgar. The biggest thing the number one thing that women tell me when they call me, I don't want to look like a prostitute in my pictures. That's the last thing we want. And men, not that they want us to look like them, but they want us to be sexual, look sexual. Besides, have you seen a very high-end prostitute? They're fabulous. I want to look like her.
Looking like a prostitute doesn't mean you are a prostitute, right? It's just you wearing a costume.
Exactly.
And,
it's your alter
we all
ego.
wear costumes on Halloween, so
For the moment.
difference?
Yeah, for the moment. So here we are, dating, wanting to find a man. We finally found one. And we struggle to keep him because we are denying ourselves the opportunity to go into his fantasy world.
Yes.
It's a lot of communication, of course. Yes. There's things that obviously is like, okay, I'll try it one time, but after that, and I've done that, after that, this is not my thing. Change that to the fantasy, okay? But the only way, I remember this one time, I was in a bar, and yes, I had like 1 or 2 shots of tequila, that helps. And this guy came next to me. He was asking for a drink, and he just started hitting me, telling me how attractive I was. And then I look at him and say like, well, thank you. And you haven't seen me naked yet. And he just went crazy. Of course, he got my number, and he wouldn't leave me all night. I would have never been able to say that before my transformation because of what he's going to think. He wants to take me to bed out of pity because I know what I look like. I'm fat, and he probably thinks I'm desperate, and he's just throwing me a pity compliment to get laid. Those were my thoughts. But now it's very, very different. I didn't end up living with him, but I teased the hell out of him and made me feel so good about me because I was in control. It was my choice about being a little bit slutty that night without any consequences. That's confidence. Right. Because you are not putting judgment in yourself. So in any case, I want to go through the last 2 things very quickly. Again, that was my expertise. The last one is socialize. When you go, we all have this idea about the men that we want to date. And when we get asked out, or we are in the dating apps and we have all these men approaching us, and the first thing that we see obviously is their picture. And men are terrible about putting pictures, good, decent pictures in social media. Yeah. And the older that we get, the shittier they look. At least we can put on makeup. But poor guys, okay? So we need to open our heart and go on these dates. As long as they ask nice, why the hell not? Get curious. Yes. Because you're going to learn a lot about yourself, and that's part of being a confident woman. And you never know who's going to surprise you. Most men won't. Most men won't. Most men won't surprise. Yes. Yeah. But if you keep doing it, this is a numbers game. One of the reasons why I found myself in 3 failed marriages is because I met him, I started dating him, and then I married him. Simple as that. Yeah. So, so this is about, we really had to screen a lot because most of men are going to fail with us. Most of them. We don't need 1,000 men to succeed with us. We only need 1. Right. So And at the end of the day, does it really matter what that man looks like physically, as long as he has everything in your list of core values? As long as you feel amazing when you are with him? The reality is no. And you are just getting yourself out there, having a good time. So get curious with people. That also is going to increase more your confidence. And, you know, you're going to be more open to date better. You're going to start to attract more men into your life, you know, naturally. And the last thing is to learn to receive. To this day, I still struggle with that, because I work with so many years in a male environment, and I always hang out with my dad as a kid. So I have a very strong male energy. And for me to become feminine, step back and receive, I struggle with that every day. Especially when I go on dates or when I am in a relationship, I have learned to sometimes change my mind. You know what? Yes, you should go to the store. I should let you do that. That's, you know. And so men need to feel needed. The way we need to feel loved, they need to feel needed. For men, they are wired to protect, for power, status, and they're driven by if they can protect, if they have status, if they have power, they're gonna get the girl. That's what drives them. So they will do anything in their power to prove themselves to us, at least whole men. And I think all have that potential, but we normally tend to get these projects and make mistakes of doing everything for them. I mean, and that's another talk, you know, that probably that's your territory more than mine. Well, mistakes on dating.
Yeah, but there's a big overlap, because I talk a lot about these things, and to your point, I wanted to ask you, just to emphasize, when you talk about core qualities, you primarily mean internal qualities, right?
Absolutely.
Like what they are inside, not so much how they look. Do they have a certain colored hair? You recommend more focusing on the internal qualities, because those, you know, I always say those are the things that are going to last better, you know, and those are the ones that are more important as you age.
Absolutely. And here's one thing, Amy. When we make our list of core values of what we want our partner to be, for example, I realized that the men that I had in my life before, they were men who were not, I never stopped to make the list, okay? Now that I look back, you know, most of the things that are in my new list, they didn't have. Like, they didn't have a purpose. They were not happy alone. They always felt incomplete, and they always, you know, I ended up being, you know, they were mama's boys. I attracted mama's boys because I'm a very masculine, you know, driven woman.
Right.
So when you make your list, first of all, when you make your ideal list, like I want a man that is a businessman like me, that is very driven and that is doing something to change the world, because I want a man that I can admire. Even if we fight and we get super angry at each other, I still am not going to lose the respect and call him an idiot. You don't know what you're talking about. I'm still going to respect him and admire him.
And fight fair.
Fight fair. And I realized that a man like that is looking for a certain type of woman, and I'm not that type of woman yet.
Okay.
So right now, I am working on me to become the woman that he's looking for.
That's wonderful.
And that's something that any woman needs to do. You can have this amazing list, you know, qualities of a man: healthy, well-off financially, athletic, purpose-driven, or has a business, or he's already retired, or he is traveling the world, or he is volunteering, you know, all these things. Who would be the ideal woman for that man? Describe her.
Yeah.
Who
Somebody
is he
similar,
looking for?
right?
And ask yourself, are you that woman?
Yes.
Because
yes.
a man that is in his 50s, fit and driven, and you're overweight, and you're just waiting for retirement and drifting through life, you're asking for unrealistic things. I'm not saying you cannot have a man like that, but you need to grow to become the type of woman that he's looking for.
Agreed.
This is where your confidence and your personal growth and working with a dating coach helps you. Because the dating coach like Amy is not just going to help you find the guy. I said, finding a man is very easy. Put on a red miniskirt dress with some cleavage, nice makeup, go to a bar by yourself without a girlfriend, and you're gonna get a man. Or going to any dating site and you're gonna get a date. Going to Tinder, you're gonna get, a date that night. I did it for many years. So it's easy to get a dude, but your ideal partner, the one that basically your designed husband, the one that if nothing changes, you can live with him the rest of your life. What are the core values? Somebody that fights fair, that works on himself, that he is happy by himself and he is not hoping for a woman to complete him. He's not a narcissist. He's not cheap. He's the kind of man that tells you, honey, I don't know why you need this, but I'm going to accept it and I'll support you.
Mm-hmm.
How many times we complain about the assholes that we've been with, that they just tell us that we're crazy and how can we be spending on that or doing that and trying to lecture us and trying to fix us. That's because obviously this is not that type of man that we're looking for. So, but that's probably because we do the same. We also judge.
Yeah.
We also criticize. We also make a man feel bad. And, I'm an expert on making men feel bad. Analyzing the relationships that I had in the past, I realized that I have a way, being in a relationship for me, it's going to, I'm working on that because my tendency is to make them wrong. That's my tendency.
Yeah, I used to be that way too.
Yeah.
And I think it comes, like you said, from working in that male environment.
Yeah.
Maybe kind of growing up in an environment where things were not as supportive as they could have been. So we learned kind of some negative patterns.
Yeah.
Not being supportive of our partners. Mm-hmm. And, exactly. That is so important. Very, very, very important.
And again, why everything goes downhill? Because men give up. They don't want to deal with the emotional crap.
Good point.
I know that, in my list of my ideal partner, one of them is he has to be constantly in the path of self-growth. He probably has his own personal coach, or he's a coach himself, which every coach has their own coach, So he's always, okay, where else can I be a better man and to be the best partner for a woman? Well, there's somebody thinking that, and I'm exactly thinking that, and we're probably just growing into the type of people that we have to become for each other. That's the reality. So, so again, now externally, what can we do? Okay, that's all the internal job, and things that you can do externally, really, because I can find my ideal man, but if I look like shit, of course he's not gonna look at me. I need to be noticed.
Agreed.
I totally be noticed. So I'm not saying go and starve yourself and do plastic surgery and change yourself. Absolutely not. If this is who you are at this moment and you have no intention to change your lifestyle, to change your body or cut your hair or do surgeries, or because it doesn't go with you, congratulations. You are falling in love with yourself. Now let's make her look beautiful, just like a car. Just give it a wax, detailing, shining in the tires. So when you go on a date, even if it is virtual date, gotta look like you just went to the freaking detailing of the car,
I love, Yeah.
So
You just
have
got
good hair. Take makeup class lessons. That is going to be one of the best money spent. Take classes with a good makeup artist 3-4 times. You will know how to do your makeup for your age, for your body, features. That's
so.
what I did.
Yeah, I was going to ask you as we wrap up, maybe over the next few minutes, I wanted to ask you, do you have like 2 or 3 quick takeaways that you recommend to the women that are watching that they can start doing? You know, some of the things they can do, and some of them maybe might take longer, you know, like the self-love. Do you have little tips that you typically recommend to your clients that, you know, a woman can watch this video and she can say, oh, you know, Argentina just suggested these things, I'm going to start doing them, and I'm going to do them every day this week, and I'm going to, you know, be in a different place next week or, you know, a few weeks from now or whatever.
I think that the first one is really design your ideal life as if you're never going to have a partner.
That's great.
Because the partner,
yeah,
the partner is not going to come and give you the life that you want. He is just going to come and put the icing on your life.
Exactly.
So design your life, create a vision board. Number 2, in order to fall in love with your body, what you can do at home right now, step in front of the mirror and just tell yourself that you are committed to your body, to love her unconditionally, just as she is, as if she was.
Oh, I love that.
Just as she was your baby, your dog, your favorite, your cat, your horse, whatever it is. I love my pets unconditionally, even if, like, I have a dog in the ranch that was run by a car and has lost one hand. Couldn't put her to sleep. Love her unconditionally.
Yeah.
Why can't I do that for my body when she has skin folds? So dress her up in the nice way. Thank God, you know, there's clothes and makeup and hair. So that's the other thing. And the third thing is that really think about your core values and your standards that a man has to meet, and don't sacrifice any of them. Because by sacrificing any of those, you are failing yourself. You really, you know, if you're not going to tolerate drinking, not even eggnog, no is no. So you get a man that's like, oh, I just get drunk once a week with my friends. No is no.
It's a no.
It's a no. Don't. I don't care. He has everything except that. That one thing is going to make your life miserable, and you're going to, you know, sacrifice, you know, your most precious possession in this life is time. That is your most precious possession.
So don't waste time,
Don't waste time. And here's one thing: we spend so many years of our lives living in the future. I'm going to be happy when I lose weight, when I get married, when I get divorced, when I have kids, when I change jobs, when I retire, when I move to Florida. And as things start to show up in our life, we're still not happy. I thought I'm going to be happy when I move to United States. I moved to United States and I wasn't happy. I'm going to be happy when I graduated and I still wasn't happy. I'm going to be happy when I got married, wasn't happy. Going to be happy when I get divorced. Wasn't happy. Got divorced, wasn't happy. Happiness is an inside job, and it starts in this moment. Start meditation. Meditation is probably one of the best medicines to really start living in the present. Because here's what happened to me. I realized that I woke up in my 40s, and I missed me in my 20s and my 30s. It's like that girl never existed, because I wasn't living in the present. So now you bet I'm living my 50s every single day. Look at my body in the mirror. It's like, you're freaking amazing and I love you, because in your 60s, you're not going to have this body.
Yeah.
So I love this body now because it's going to keep aging. So
I love that. I love that. This was so wonderful, Argentina. I really loved it. So we got one comment, and I think this was from Willow. Love it. Be realistic about having a human body. Beautiful.
Oh, good.
I really agree. Really, really nice.
So glad to hear that people agree. Not rocket science. It's most of it is common sense, but you know, it's not common practice.
So I want to tell everyone, you know, I was not really thinking of the boudoir of getting a photo done, but honestly, I feel like you've convinced me. The next time I'm gonna come find you. The next time I'm in, you know, why not? Why not? Like, you're only this age once, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So, tell us how we can find you, and we're gonna also have your information in the comments, so everyone in the group can come and find you. I think you were saying on your website you were offering, you got a giveaway for a free session, right? Tell us about that.
Yeah. So first of all, for girls listening, don't think that just because I have a studio in Chicago and one in Austin, Texas, and you're in New York, you know, you can't do a session with me. Get in a freaking plane.
Yeah.
I flew to UK just to take some pictures by a girl that I love there. So when we women want something, we'll do anything. So you're freaking, I mean, of course there's photographers everywhere, but boudoir photography is something, you know, very sensitive, very, very personal. Do your research. Not just anyone, especially if you are not a 25-year-old absolutely skinny bride or model or skinny, you know. It takes a talent to photograph a woman's body that it has lack of flexibility, that has a double chin, big arms, big tummy, is older. It's a talent. Not just anyone can do that. That's why I don't even call myself a photographer. As a body coach that happens to be good at photography. So do your research, because the last thing you want when you're trying to love your body is to get bad pictures of yourself. Mm-hmm. So I have a studio in Chicago, a private studio. Nobody else uses it. And I have another one in Austin, Texas. So if you want to work with me, you can fly there. I also have retreats around the world. I always go to Cozumel around Thanksgiving, Bali in January, Fiji in February, and Paris in end of summer, beginning of fall, every single year. So you can do photography there as well, and we do a coaching as well. So the best way to get a hold of me is going to my website, which is artofseductionchicago.com, artofseductionchicago.com. And over there you are going to find a link that says win a free session. So if you click there and you register, you're going to be entered to my monthly giveaway of a boudoir session. And if you end up winning, you don't have to do it right away. You can schedule it for your vacation time next year. You need to, in order to fly to Chicago or one of my trips and all that. So that's the best way. And once you register there, then you're gonna get lots of information from me to join my Facebook group, videos, and all that. So the easiest way is just to get into my mailing list to start to really get wet with all the stuff that I do, because I do a lot of coaching, free inside of my Facebook group. There are 5-minute clips, inspirational things. So there's a lot of good stuff over there. Yeah.
Yeah, and we'll put a link to your Facebook group in here too, so
awesome.
That they've got all of that, in the comments here, or maybe I'll put it at the top. I don't know. Well, this was wonderful. Thank you so much, Argentina. I really, really enjoyed this.
Well, I really enjoy this too. My purpose in life, I discovered that, I dream in a world in which women define their worthiness on their own terms and feel good enough by themselves without needing the validation of anyone's opinion. We would be dominating the world if we just were confident and feeling that we are good enough. And I want to spread the love and the inspiration any way I can. There's only 2 reasons why we humans do things, out of desperation or inspiration. That's when we take action. Mm-hmm. We're desperate and we're inspired. I'm hoping to inspire. I don't want you to be desperate. I want you to be inspired.
I love that. I love that. Thank you so much.
Well, it's been a pleasure, Amy. It's just amazing. We should do it again. The interest is there. There's so many things I can talk about.
I love that. And on Wednesday, I will be in your group.
Yes.
So I'm looking
I have a lot of people who want to know a lot about dating. So it's going to be great.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I'm going to go ahead and cut the transmission now.
Thank you, everyone.
You guys can find all of Argentina's information. I'm going to have it either in the comments or in the subsection. Please reach out to her. She is awesome and she's wonderful to talk to. She gives really great advice. So that is all. I'm going to go ahead and end for today. You guys have a good night.
Bye.
Okay, that was awesome. You did great.
Told you, I just start talking. That's why sometimes I prefer not to have a plan.
I wish I didn't, I don't know. I was